Hello, my name is Ryan Kenny, and this will be my final, and I will be presenting Palouse Falls. Palouse Falls is located in eastern Washington, about an hour and a half out of Walla Walla, and that's the most notable landmark to it. You might be looking at this and curious how you would get there. It's a steep hike, and lots of jagged rocks, no clear trail, treacherous to say the least. I've fallen many a times getting up and down it. The habitat, I would say, is a plateau mixed with prairie, I want to say. It's odd because it's a canyon and it has a water feature, most notable, that runs through the entire thing. But from the top, it looks like dry, arid desert. And then you look down and it's plentiful. There's plants growing, healthy vegetation, and constant stream of water with many organisms about. That goes into the 5 organisms that I noticed when going through it. First one, bass. The whole reason I went down here is because I wanted to go fishing in a unique location. You can actually fish it, everything, it's totally fine. There's nothing that says you can't, but it's a lot of fun. Bringing me back, losing track, back to the organisms I found. The bass. Where do we find it? In the water. A ton of them. Like every other cast, you'd either get a bass or another bass that was slightly bigger. The most notable features about the bass, this is a better picture, you can see its mouth is very pronounced in the way it opens and closes. It gets huge. It's like, there's no other fish like it seems like, from my experience. Also, another characteristic of it is that green teal that goes throughout the body, darker on the top, and then it turns into more of like a lime green near the bottom. Also, its pronounced scales and its black marble-esque eyes. Ooh. The interesting fact about the bass is that they're super aggressive fish. They are very territorial and they will eat fish that are about 35% bigger than them. They're incredibly aggressive fish, and they claim their territory, rightfully so. The next organism that I observed was the red hawk. That's not the best picture. The next one's way better, trust me. The red hawks were noticeably pretty much everywhere along the cliff's edge. Around the cliff's edge being this general area looking down on you. They're very obvious to identify, I think, because of their white chest, which they have mostly because of their adolescent stage, which is when they're most prominent. Also, the white tails on their wings when they open up, and the white feathered tails on the back. Looking at a better picture, you can always tell it's a red hawk too because of the red-like color almost that's on their hair. I know it says red, but it's more of like a ginger, really. And then there's always that little bit of yellow on their beak. A fun fact about the red hawk is that they can see prey from about 100 feet in the air. That's just how good their eyesight is. The next animal we have, or organism, is the catfish. We found the catfish in the water also, surrounding the canyon, obviously. The catfish is kind of a crazy looking fish. The most distinctive feature, actually, immediately you notice when you look at it, is its whiskers and how pronounced they are. 4 of them. But they use this to actually detect things on the ground because they're bottom feeders. That's the fun fact about them. They only really eat stuff on the bottom. They can eat other fish like smaller bass and all that, but they typically don't unless they feel threatened by them. Next animal we have, that's just a better picture of the bass, or the catfish. He's also got 2 more on the top in some species of catfish. The next one we have, you might think it's a beaver at first. It's not. It's a muskrat. These little dudes are far and few, I'd say. We noticed 1 or 2 of them in between the rocks when we got up there and near the actual shore of the waterfall. They look extremely similar to beavers, I understand. Like, you see the feet, they're webbed actually, very similar to a beaver. The only difference is that technically they're rats. Obviously, it's in the name, but they are one of the largest rat species there is in the world. The most important distinction, I would say, between the muskrat and the beaver, that's a horrible picture. That did not pan out very well. is the tail, because these guys just have a straight up rat tail, hence the name. Whereas a beaver would have, obviously, a beaver tail, more flat and better for swimming. The fun fact I found from the muskrat, or not even fun fact, just straight up interesting, was that they mate in water, actually, mostly. Which, I don't know, I just wouldn't expect it from these guys. Beavers, yeah, but maybe they share a little bit more in common. The last organism, which I think is by far the most interesting of the 4 that I've showed you already, a cougar. These guys go around down there, and it makes sense when you think about it, seeing how this is the only body of water for about maybe 20 miles nearby. Or it leads to the Columbia Basin and all that, which is nearby, but this is like the premier spot with mostly any animal will go upstream to get some water. This was terrifying, I'll say that for the most part. Where it was seen on a rocky hillside one day, right before nightfall. I was with my cousin, and he actually saw it when we separated for a little bit. How can you ID a cougar? I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory. It's a big cat. It's huge. And it is a monster of death and terrifying. But if you really are not sure if what's running at you is a cougar or not, you can always look for that little bit of white scruff on the front of him and then the sharp whiskers coming out. Yeah, the fun fact I found about them shortly after seeing it was that they can jump 18 feet in a sitting position. If they weren't already terrifying enough, they are also very fast, which kind of just adds to it, I would say. That's Palouse Falls in entirety. I did not take that picture, obviously. I do not have nice camera equipment like that, but as you can see, yeah, the water drops down about 230 feet into this basin area, which all the fish mainly reside in, from catfish to carp to bass, which were everywhere, and then it flows down here and joins the Columbia and the Snake. The 2 ecological concepts that I really thought of when I looked at this was, 1, the community, which primarily resides in the basin area, obviously. There's lots of fish there, and when the water is clear too, so you can see the fish moving and everything. The one thing I did notice is that there was like no hostility between the fishes at all, or at least it didn't seem like it at the time, but bass were going up to catfish, carp, and everything, like rubbing off one another. And there was no bickering or anything in between it at all. It was a weird sense of community. And muskrats were just running wild, like the 1 or 2 that we saw. Red hawk, I didn't see anything that would have made me think differently. It was almost like all animals were coming here because they realized they needed something here, or they like commonly needed something here. We didn't come across any carcasses or anything, which I thought was odd, seeing how I've seen some in other bodies of water from time to time, but there were none here. It's like they all recognized we share this space. The ecosystem kind of ties in with what I was saying for last time. It has everything from all that. Palouse Falls is way more than just the organisms I shared. There's black bears reportedly that have gone through there. There's weasels. There's a whole laundry list, but this is like the 5 organisms I shared are not the only ones that visit the site. It's a frequent visit by majority of organisms, because first of all, they don't even go up to here fully half the time. They'll go into this larger prairie area just because there's more cover and everything. It makes more sense if you're prey and there's cougars and black bears and red hawks going everywhere and you're just a weasel and you want to get some water or something. Leads me to the last question, the conclusion. Why here? I've been wanting to go here for a while now. I'm glad I had the opportunity to. During my stay here, I was actually doing some seasonal work down there. I didn't have a lot of days off, so going down here was refreshing and a change of pace. But no, it's just beautiful too, because right over here is the parking actually, and you can see everything. And then you walk around, cross the train track, go around the entire thing, then go back the way you came on the side of a cliff. It's dangerous, it's fun, and there's good fishing at the bottom. I only feel comfortable telling you that because I know none of you will go to Eastern Washington specifically to fish the Palouse. That's all I really have to say. Yeah, this was a lot of fun to make. Thank you so much.